My name is Scarlett, and I'm staring at the shattered remains of what I thought was my life. 5 years. 5 years since that snake, Bethany, slithered out of the woodwork and James, my James, willingly wrapped himself around her. 5 years since he gutted me and then had the gall to come sniffing around my business like it was his damn bone to chew on. But let's rewind, shall we? Back to a time when James was a name that still made my heart skip, not a curse word bubbling in my throat. I was just out of cosmetology school, barely making rent on my tiny apartment, but buzzing with the kind of naive hope that only youth can afford. Scarlet Snippets, the sign read, hanging precariously above the door of my little corner in Hair Today, Gone Tomorrow. A salon that saw more gone than hair, if I'm honest. But it was mine. Tuesday. It was always Tuesdays. The day I dreaded and strangely looked forward to. Bethany came slinking into the salon, her red pumps clicking across the tile, echoing off the pale blue walls, and her scent of expensive perfume and cigarettes filled the room like a noxious cloud. The bell above the door jangled, announcing his arrival. "Jameson," she called, her voice dripping with honey. "I'm right over here." He looked lost, like a stray puppy that had wandered into the wrong backyard. His hair was a disaster, thick, unruly curls that looked like they'd been styled by a hurricane. Beautiful mess. Even then, it was beautiful. "Hey," he said, his voice a low rumble that sent a little shiver down my spine. "You open for a walk-in?" I straightened up, trying to ignore the way my heart was suddenly doing acrobatics. "Sure thing," I said, trying to sound casual. "Take a seat." I pointed to my chair, the one that creaked ominously every time someone sat down, a fact I found endearingly quirky. He settled in, and I draped the cape around him, the snap a little too sharp, a little too eager. "So, what are we doing today?" He ran a hand through his already ravaged hair. "Just make it look like I haven't been dragged through a hedge backwards," he said with a crooked smile. I laughed, the sound genuine. God, I loved his smile. "I reckon I can do that." And then we talked, like we had known each other forever. About music, our mutual disdain for bubblegum pop, our shared love for classic rock, about movies, about books, about everything and nothing. He listened, really listened, which was a novelty in my world. I swear, the man could talk for hours about anything, but that day, I was mesmerized. I was getting paid to do what I love, and I had what felt like a soulmate sitting in front of me. He was perfect. By the time I was done, his hair was tamed, but his eyes were wild, alight with something I dared to hope mirrored my own feelings. "Thanks," he said, his voice softer now. "This is exactly what I needed." He came back. Of course, he came back every other week, like clockwork, always managing to snag my chair. Coffee turned into dinners, dinners turned into everything. A year later, we were married. No frills, no fuss. Just us and our families in the backyard of his parents' place, under a sky that threatened rain but never delivered. We were broke as hell, so our honeymoon was 3 days in a lakeside cabin that smelled like mildew and dead fish. But we didn't care. We were in love. Or I was in love. That's what I thought, anyway. Then came Noah. Our son. Our everything. Those first few years were a blur of sleepless nights, diaper changes, and bills we couldn't quite manage to pay. I was trying to juggle motherhood and my job, the guilt eating away at me every time I left. Noah crying in his crib. But James was there. He took on night feeds, changed diapers without complaint, and always told me I was doing a good job, even when I felt like I was failing miserably. "You're amazing, Scarlett," he'd say, pulling me close. "We'll get through this. Together." Together. That word echoed in my mind now, a cruel reminder of promises broken. Life was good. Really good. We had our fights, sure, but who doesn't? I loved my job, loved the people I met, loved the stories they shared. I guess I have one of those faces people trust. Or maybe I was just too damn naive to see what was right in front of me. 30 years! 30 years flew by in a whirlwind of laughter, love, and the everyday grind. I wasn't just any hairdresser anymore, I was the hairdresser in town, the one everyone waited weeks to see. Jameson had climbed the corporate ladder too, becoming some big shot executive, always with an ear to the phone. We had a beautiful house. A little too quiet now that Noah was grown and living on his own. The salon was always bustling, but one rainy afternoon, it got a whole lot more interesting. A woman walked in, soaked to the bone, looking like she'd just lost everything. Chloe. That was her name. She had these sad, lost eyes that immediately tugged at my heartstrings. I could tell she needed more than just a new hairstyle. She needed someone to listen. "Rough day?" I asked, as she sank into my chair, not even bothering to wipe the water dripping from her coat onto the floor. She sighed, pulling off her soggy hat, revealing a tangled mess of wet hair. "You could say that. Just split with my boyfriend. Feels like my heart's been through a meat grinder." "Well, you're in the right place for a pick-me-up," I said, draping a towel around her shoulders. "Let's get you dried off and fixed up. How about we try something new? Give you a fresh start?" Chloe nodded, looking up at me through the mirror, her eyes red-rimmed. "I'd like that. I really would." As I worked on her hair, we talked. About her ex, about her dreams, about her fears. Turns out she was new in town, trying to start over after a toxic relationship. I found myself giving her advice, not just about hair, but about finding her feet, about building a new life. By the time I was done, she had a sleek new bob that framed her face perfectly, and a flicker of a smile was starting to appear. "You know, I feel lighter already," she admitted, checking out her new look. "Thanks, Scarlett." "Seriously, anytime, Chloe. You know where to find me?" Just then, Noah walked in. He rarely visited me at the salon, usually claiming he was too busy. His eyes landed on Chloe, and I saw that spark, that same lightning bolt I'd felt when I first met Jameson. "Mom, hey." "Who's this?" he asked, trying to be casual, but I saw the way his eyes lingered on Chloe. "This is Chloe." "Chloe, meet my son Noah. He's usually not around during the day, thinks he's too busy for his old mom," I joked, giving Noah a playful glare. "Nice to meet you, Chloe." "And Mom, I'm never too busy for you," Noah shot back with a grin. Chloe laughed, and I could see her warming up to Noah's charm. "Nice to meet you too, Noah. Your mom's been telling me all about the town. Sounds like you both know it inside out." "Yeah, well, I could show you some places if you like," Noah offered, smooth as silk. I almost rolled my eyes. "That'd be great," Chloe said, her smile bright and genuine now. As they chatted, I cleaned up my station, keeping one ear on their conversation. It was clear they clicked. Noah offered to take her for coffee, to continue his tour guide duties, and Chloe agreed. Watching them walk out together, I felt a mix of emotions. Happy for Noah, seeing him light up around Chloe, but also worried. Starting new relationships on the rebound can be tricky. I just hoped he wouldn't get hurt. Noah and Chloe. It was a whirlwind. He was smitten. She was vulnerable. And before I knew it, they were planning a wedding. Part of me worried they were rushing into things. But seeing them together, seeing the way their eyes lit up when they looked at each other, made me believe it was real. "They're so happy." "Mom," Jameson said one evening, as we watched Noah and Chloe dance at their wedding reception. "That's all that matters, right?" I smiled, squeezing his hand. "Right. They became a part of our lives." Chloe was like the daughter I never had. We often had them over for dinner, the house filled with laughter. "I love these dinners," Chloe would always say, teasing Noah. "I can never find fault with your taste in women, Mom." Jameson and we were doing all right. He'd become a big shot at his company, always busy, always on the move. But things were starting to change. Subtle at first, he started working late more often. His business trips multiplied. "It's a busy season, Scarlett," he'd say, shrugging off my questions. Gotta make hay while the sun shines. I couldn't argue with that, but it was his newfound love for the gym that really threw me for a loop. One morning, I found him digging out workout clothes from the back of the closet. "What's all this about?" I asked, watching as he packed a gym bag. "Gotta keep up with the young guys at work," he chuckled, zipping the bag shut. "Can't let them think I'm getting old." "Is that so?" I teased, leaning against the doorframe. "Well, look at you, mister. Fitness." He flashed me a grin. "Who knows? Maybe I'll get abs like Noah." I laughed. The thought of Jameson, who usually avoided physical exertion like the plague, suddenly turning into a gym rat was too bizarre. But part of me was glad he was taking care of himself. Life seemed almost perfect. Our home was filled with love and laughter. Our careers were thriving, and with Noah and Chloe, so happy, grandkids didn't seem like a far-off dream anymore. But every so often, when Jameson would leave for another sudden business trip or come home late from the gym, a small voice in the back of my head whispered doubts. I pushed them away, telling myself it was all normal, just part of life's routine adjustments. Yet, I couldn't shake the feeling entirely. Watching him pack for another trip, I'd find myself asking, "Everything okay at work?" "Same as ever. Just the grind," he'd answer. And though his words were reassuring, his eyes didn't quite meet mine like they used to. I started watching the clock, noting when he left and when he got back. The intervals were stretching longer, the explanations shorter. "Just ran into some traffic," or "had to help a colleague out" became common refrains. One night, lying in bed waiting for him to come home, I realized that no matter how perfect things seemed, there was a crack somewhere. I just hoped it was my imagination running wild, a silly phase that would pass. Because the alternative, the possibility that something serious was amiss, was something I wasn't ready to face. Not yet. It was a regular Thursday at the salon. Marie, a client I'd known for years, came in, bubbling with excitement about her recent vacation. As she settled into the chair, she started showing me videos. "We caught so much of the trip, Scarlett. Look at this one," she beamed, scrolling through her phone. As she held up the screen, a video of a bustling restaurant played. I watched, half listening as Marie narrated their dining experience. But my attention snapped to full alert when the camera unintentionally captured a couple at the next table. In a deep, passionate kiss, my heart slammed against my ribs. My breath caught in my throat. It was Jameson and Chloe, tangled up in each other, completely lost in the moment. "Can you send that to me?" I managed to choke out, my voice barely above a whisper. Marie, puzzled by my sudden interest, nodded slowly and forwarded the video. "Sure, but are you all right? You look pale." I forced a smile, shaking my head slightly. "Yeah, just thought I saw someone I knew. Thanks." The rest of the day passed in a blur. My hands moved mechanically, cutting and styling, but my mind was stuck on that video. The image of Jameson and Chloe together haunted every moment. I didn't dare call Jameson. Instead, I waited until I was home, my nerves stretched tight, and called Noah. "Noah, I need you to come over. It's important," I said as soon as he picked up, trying to keep my voice steady. When he arrived, his face was etched with concern. "Mom, what's going on? Are you okay?" I didn't meet his eyes as I handed him my phone, with the video queued up. "Just watch," I said, my voice breaking. The color drained from Noah's face as he watched. The shock, the realization hit him all at once. Dad and Chloe. His voice was a mix of disbelief and pain. He looked from the phone to me, searching for an explanation. Before I could reply, the front door swung open. Jameson walked in, Chloe beside him, both laughing about something trivial. The sight of them, so carefree, twisted the knife deeper into my chest. Jameson, still smiling, started to speak. "Guess who I ran into today and gave a ride?" His words hung in the air as he finally noticed the atmosphere. Noah threw the phone on the table, the video still playing, the sound of their laughter grotesquely out of place now. Jameson's smile faltered. His eyes flicked from the phone to our faces. Realizing what had happened, Chloe's smile dropped as she followed his gaze to the screen, displaying their betrayal. The second that video ended, the air in the room turned icy. Jameson turned pale, as if he'd seen a ghost. Chloe, with a cruel smirk, didn't even try to hide her glee. "I love him," she declared, pointing unabashedly at Jameson. "And honestly, Scarlett, you're old. He doesn't want you anymore." Her words stung like a slap. I felt a deep, hollow ache in my chest. I couldn't believe I had welcomed such a snake into our home, into our family. How had I been so blind? Noah's reaction was instant. His face flushed with anger as he stood up, towering over his father. "I'm done with you, Dad," he said, his voice shaking with rage. "And you?" He turned his fury towards Chloe. "Get out of my house." Chloe's laugh was sharp, her voice laced with entitlement. "And where am I supposed to go? I'm entitled to half of this apartment in alimony." "You owe me that much, Noah," Noah scoffed, the sound bitter and full of scorn. "The apartment was mine before we even met. It's in my name only. And as for alimony," he sneered, "your cheating has taken care of that. You get nothing." While Chloe fumbled for a response, Jameson stepped in, his voice cold and calculated. "We need to talk about our assets, Scarlett. We've got 30 years of marriage here. I want half of everything." His audacity was breathtaking. My entire world was crumbling, and he was worried about money. The nerve of him to stand there and demand a share of our life together, as if he hadn't just betrayed everything we built. The divorce was nasty, drawn out, and every encounter dripped with venom, especially from Jameson. He strutted into court, playing the wronged party, trying to smear my name and grab as much as he could from the ruins of our marriage. It was excruciating to watch the man I had loved twist our memories into lies, just to gain an upper hand. And Chloe. Oh, Chloe had the gall to taunt me outside the courtroom on the last day. "You're just an old woman, Scarlett." Jameson wanted someone young and beautiful. Like me, her words echoed in my ears. Each syllable a pointed dagger meant to wound. It felt like the ultimate betrayal, not just of the heart, but of all the years we'd spent side by side. I drove home, those days feeling like a shell of the woman I used to be, questioning my worth, questioning every year we'd spent together. But through this storm, Noah was my rock. He stood by me, his presence a constant reminder that not everything from my marriage was a loss. Seeing the strength and integrity in my son, I realized that if my marriage had given me nothing else, it had given me him. A man who knew right from wrong, who stood up for what was right, even when it was hard. One morning, I stood in front of the mirror, took a deep breath, and made a vow to myself. "Scarlett, it's time to rebuild. From the ground up." The reflection staring back at me nodded, as if sealing the pact. One of the hardest decisions I had to make was about the house. It was too full of memories, too big for just me. Plus, the settlement required that we sell it and split the proceeds. "Fresh start, Scarlett." The first muttered to myself as I signed the papers at the real estate agent's office. "Trust me, you're making the right move," the agent, a kindly middle-aged man named Roger, assured me. "Something smaller, more manageable. It'll be good for you." He was right. I bought a cozy 2-bedroom apartment closer to the city center. Perfect for one. The day I moved in, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders as I unpacked boxes and arranged furniture. There was a sense of creating something new, something wholly mine. The next challenge was work. My career had always been a part of who I was, and I wasn't about to give that up. With the divorce settlement, I had some capital and a fiery drive to not just continue, but to expand. I decided to open my own salon, Scarlett's Style and Grace. Finding the right location took time. I walked through countless potential spots, each time envisioning what could be. When I finally found the perfect place, a small but bright space on a busy street, I knew it was the one. "I can see it now," I told Noah, who had come along to give his approval. "Scarlett's Style and Grace, right there on the sign." He grinned, his earlier support unwavering. It's perfect, Mom. You're going to make it into something amazing. The process of opening the salon was grueling. Renovations, permits, supplies. It seemed endless. But with each step completed, I felt a surge of accomplishment. This was mine, my creation, my new beginning. The grand opening was a flurry of excitement. Friends, longtime clients, and even curious passers-by filled the space, their chatter and laughter breathing life into the once empty shop. 3 years have passed since the divorce. Looking back, I barely recognized the woman I was when this all started. My business has flourished, becoming more than I had dared to hope. The community support has been overwhelming, and in return, I've done my best to give back, to create a space that's welcoming and warm. Noah got married again 2 years after the divorce. He met Lisa at a community event, and they hit it off right away. They've since had twins, a boy and a girl. Seeing him so happy, so fulfilled, has given me a new kind of joy I didn't know I was missing. As I lock up the salon at night, the last of the sunset casting a warm glow through the front windows, I often pause and reflect. This journey, every up and down, every setback and every victory has reshaped me. I'm not the same person I was, and I'm grateful for it. In those moments, surrounded by the hum of dryers and the smell of shampoo, I realize I have found my way out of the darkness. The betrayal that had once threatened to break me had instead built me stronger, fiercer. One day, out of the blue, I received a call from Jameson, my ex-husband. His voice was casual, as if we were old friends catching up, but his words were like a slap in the face. "Scarlett, I think it's only fair I get half of your beauty salon. It's doing well, and frankly, it was started with my money, since I was the main breadwinner for so long." The nerve of him! After everything, to claim a piece of what I built from scratch. With my money, post-divorce. I was seething, but I kept my cool. "Okay, Jameson, let's meet and talk about it," I said, already plotting to turn the tables on him. After hanging up, I called Noah. He was furious when he heard. "We need to dig a little deeper into Jameson's life, Mom. Let's see what he's really up to," he said, proposing to hire a private investigator. I agreed. It was time to uncover whatever Jameson and that woman he left us for were hiding. We chose to meet in a crowded cafe downtown. Neutral ground, but I wanted witnesses. I arrived early and spotted them from a distance. Jameson, looking older but trying hard to appear youthful, beside his much younger wife, Chloe. She was visibly pregnant. Sitting down, I braced myself for a tiresome charade. Jameson wasted no time. "Scarlett, thanks for coming. You know, with the baby on the way, Chloe wants to start her own salon. We think a share of your business would be a good start for our family's future." Chloe looked at me, smirking smugly, as if she had already won this battle. I forced a smile, listening to Jameson ramble about the bright future he envisioned for his new family, all the while thinking how deluded he was. Finally, when he paused for breath, I saw my moment. "Jameson, you're living in a fantasy. This business you want so badly was built entirely without your money or influence. And as for this child you're so excited about." I paused, my smile fading as I pulled out a series of photos and slid them across the table to him. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. Jameson and Chloe leaned in to look at the photos. Clear shots of Chloe with another man, not just in casual settings, but leaving a hotel together. "And there's more," I continued, my voice steady despite the chaos I was unleashing. "Jameson, remember when you had chicken pox? So bad at 38. The doctor said it left you infertile. I didn't have the heart to tell you before, thinking it would crush you." The color drained from Jameson's face. Chloe's eyes widened in horror as she turned to him, her hands trembling. "You're lying!" Chloe shrieked, her voice breaking. Jameson just sat there, stunned, as reality crashed down around him. He turned to Chloe, anger contorting his features. Is this true? Are you cheating on me? The cafe around us had gone silent, all eyes glued to our table. Jameson, I can explain, she stammered. But Jameson was already on his feet. I don't want to hear it. We're done, he was shouting now, causing a scene as his world fell apart. Get out of my life. I stood up, smoothing down my skirt. I think this meeting is over, I announced, my voice loud enough for the surrounding tables to hear. I want nothing more to do with either of you. As I walked away, the last thing I saw was Chloe weeping and Jameson yelling, the staff rushing over to intervene. I stepped out into the sunlight, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. I got them. I'm a survivor. I'll always be one. A few days later, I was at the salon, tidying up after a busy day. The bell above the door jingled, and I looked up to see Noah walking in, his face bright with a smile. Hey, Mom! How's the champion of independence doing today? He teased, walking over to give me a hug. I laughed, handing him a broom to help me clean up. Oh, stop it. But I won't lie. Feels good. Really good. That's what I like to hear, Noah replied, starting to sweep. So, what's next for you? I paused, leaning on my broom. Well, I've been thinking about that a lot. I want to do more than just run the salon. I want to give back somehow. Noah nodded, looking thoughtful. You've got a lot to offer, Mom. Maybe some kind of mentorship program? You know, for young women starting out? That's exactly what I was thinking, I said, excitement bubbling up inside me. I want to help them build their own futures, make sure they have the support they need. The following weeks flew by as I put our ideas into action. I reached out to local community centers and schools, setting up workshops and talks. The response was overwhelming. So many young women came, eager to learn and grow. One evening, after a particularly successful workshop, I sat in my salon, reflecting on everything that had happened. The phone rang and I answered it, still in a reflective mood. Scarlett's style and grace. This is Scarlett. Mom, it's me, came Noah's cheerful voice. Just wanted to check in. How was the workshop today? It was fantastic, Noah. These girls, they're so bright and full of potential. It makes me feel like I'm really doing something worthwhile, I replied, a smile spreading across my face. That's awesome, Mom. I knew you'd be great at this. We chatted a bit more, and after hanging up, I felt a profound sense of peace. I had come so far from the woman who thought her life was over after a divorce. Now, here I was, making a real impact, feeling more fulfilled than I ever had. I realized that the fire that burned in me, fueled by betrayal and anger, had been transformed into something beautiful, something powerful, something that was all my own. I made my mistakes along the way, but in the end, I am so happy to be where I'm at. That's it! I hope this captures the dramatic, emotional tone you were aiming for. Please provide feedback on anything you'd like me to change or elaborate on. The mentorship program quickly became my passion project. I named it Phoenix Rising, a little on the nose maybe, but it felt right. I wanted to help these young women rise from whatever ashes life had thrown their way. I offered workshops on everything from business skills and financial literacy to self-esteem and healthy relationships. The salon itself transformed. It wasn't just a place to get your hair done anymore. It was a hub of activity. The back room became a classroom, filled with mismatched chairs, a whiteboard covered in inspirational quotes, and the aroma of coffee and ambition. One of the first girls to join Phoenix Rising was a young woman named Maya. She was quiet, almost painfully shy, with a talent for art but a crippling lack of confidence. She dreamed of opening her own design studio, but she didn't know where to start. I'm not sure I can do this, she confessed to me one afternoon, tears welling up in her eyes. Everyone else seemed so sure of themselves. I sat beside her, taking her hand. Maya, honey, nobody starts out feeling sure. We all fake it until we make it. The important thing is to believe in yourself, even when it feels impossible. I shared my own story with her about the divorce, the betrayal, the struggle to rebuild. I told her about the fear, the self-doubt, the nights I cried myself to sleep. "You're stronger than you think, Maya," I said, my voice soft but firm. "You just need to find that strength within yourself." Over the next few months, I worked closely with Maya, helping her develop her business plan, hone her design skills, and build her confidence. I connected her with other artists and entrepreneurs, people who could offer her advice and support. Slowly but surely, Maya began to blossom. She started speaking up in workshops, sharing her ideas, and even mentoring other girls in the program. One day, Maya came to me with a beaming smile. "Scarlett," she said, "I got my first client. A local boutique wants me to design their new logo." I wrapped her in a hug, tears of pride stinging my eyes. "I knew you could do it, Maya." I always knew. Watching Maya succeed, seeing the spark of hope in her eyes, filled me with a joy I hadn't felt in years. It was more rewarding than any sale, any award, any amount of money. Phoenix Rising was making a real difference, not just in the lives of the young women it served, but in my own life as well. It gave me purpose, a reason to get out of bed in the morning, a sense of fulfillment that had been missing since before everything fell apart. The success of Phoenix Rising brought me recognition in the community. I was invited to speak at conferences, participate in local events, and even received an award for my contributions to women's empowerment. I found myself stepping outside my comfort zone, embracing new challenges and pushing myself to grow. I took a public speaking course, learned how to manage social media, and even started writing a blog about my experiences. The old Scarlett, the one who was defined by her marriage and her heartbreak, was fading away. In her place was a new Scarlett, a woman who was confident, independent, and passionate about making a difference in the world. I started taking better care of myself, too. I joined a yoga class, started eating healthier, and made time for things I enjoyed, like reading, gardening, and spending time with Noah and his family. My relationship with Noah deepened as well. He was proud of me, supportive of my work, and always there to lend a hand when I needed it. I cherished our conversations, our laughter, and the unwavering love that bound us together. Seeing Noah with Lisa and the twins brought me so much joy. I loved being a grandmother, spoiling the kids with affection and watching them grow. They filled a void in my heart that I hadn't even realized was there. Of course, there were still moments of sadness, times when the memories of the past crept in, when I felt the sting of betrayal and loss. But those moments were becoming less frequent, less intense. I was learning to forgive myself, to let go of the anger, and to embrace the present. It was at a charity gala honoring local community leaders that I met Daniel. He was a local architect, tall and handsome, with a kind smile and a warm, engaging personality. We struck up a conversation, and I was immediately drawn to his intelligence, his humor, and his genuine interest in my work. He asked me about Phoenix Rising, about the girls I mentored, and about my own story. "You're doing amazing work, Scarlett," he said, his eyes filled with admiration. "You're an inspiration." I blushed, feeling a warmth spread through my cheeks. It had been so long since anyone had looked at me that way. We talked for hours that night, about everything and nothing. We discovered a shared love for art, music, and travel. We laughed, we debated, and we found ourselves lost in each other's company. At the end of the evening, Daniel took my hand and looked me in the eyes. "Scarlett," he said, his voice soft, "I've really enjoyed talking to you. Would you like to go out sometime?" My heart skipped a beat. It was a simple invitation, but it felt like so much more. It felt like a chance to start over, to open myself up to love again. I hesitated for a moment, the fear creeping in. What if I got hurt again? What if I wasn't ready? But then I looked into Daniel's eyes, and I saw honesty, kindness, and a genuine desire to get to know me. Yes, Daniel, I said, my voice trembling slightly. I'd love to. Our first date was magical. We went to a small Italian restaurant, where we shared stories, laughed, and discovered even more common interests. We walked along the riverfront, hand in hand, under a sky full of stars. As the weeks turned into months, Daniel and I grew closer. He was patient, understanding, and always supportive. He listened to my fears, encouraged my dreams, and made me feel safe and loved. He was different from Jameson. He wasn't arrogant, controlling, or manipulative. He was kind, gentle, and respectful. He valued my opinion, respected my independence, and celebrated my successes. Slowly but surely, I began to trust him. I opened up to him about my past, about the pain of the divorce, and about the scars that still lingered. He listened without judgment, offering comfort and understanding. "You don't have to be afraid, Scarlett," he said one evening, holding me close. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for you." With Daniel, I felt like I could finally let go of the past, embrace the present, and look forward to the future. One sunny afternoon, Daniel took me to a beautiful park, filled with blooming flowers and towering trees. We walked hand in hand, enjoying the warmth of the sun and the beauty of the surroundings. We stopped by a small pond, where a family of ducks was swimming. Daniel turned to me, his eyes sparkling with love. "Scarlett," he said, his voice soft but firm, "you know how much I care about you. You've brought so much joy and happiness into my life. I can't imagine my life without you." He knelt down on one knee, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. He opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond ring. "Scarlett, will you marry me?" he asked, his voice filled with emotion. Tears welled up in my eyes, blurring my vision. My heart swelled with love, gratitude, and a sense of overwhelming happiness. "Yes, Daniel," I whispered, my voice trembling. "Yes, I will marry you." He slipped the ring on my finger, and we embraced, kissing under the warm afternoon sun. It was a moment of pure bliss, a symbol of a new beginning, a testament to the power of love and hope. We celebrated our engagement with Noah, Lisa, and the twins. They were overjoyed, welcoming Daniel into the family with open arms. "I'm so happy for you, Mom," Noah said, hugging me tightly. "You deserve all the happiness in the world." Daniel and I planned a small, intimate wedding, surrounded by our closest friends and family. It was a celebration of love, second chances, and the beauty of life. As I walked down the aisle, towards Daniel, I felt a sense of peace and contentment I had never known before. I had overcome so much, endured so much pain, and finally found my way back to happiness. I knew that life would still have its challenges, its ups and downs, but I also knew that I wasn't alone anymore. I had Daniel by my side, and together we could face anything. We exchanged vows, promising to love, honor, and cherish each other for the rest of our lives. And in that moment, surrounded by love and light, I knew that my journey was complete. I had risen from the ashes, stronger and more resilient than ever before. I had found love again, built a successful career, and made a positive impact on the world. I was Scarlett, and I was finally, truly happy. Years passed, filled with love, laughter, and shared adventures with Daniel. Our blended family grew closer, and Phoenix Rising continued to thrive, empowering countless young women to achieve their dreams. One day, a young woman came into the salon, looking lost and uncertain. Her name was Bethany. I recognized the name instantly. It was her, the woman who had destroyed my marriage, the woman who had caused so much pain. My first instinct was to turn her away, to unleash my anger and resentment. But then I looked into her eyes, and I saw not arrogance, but a deep sadness, a desperate plea for help. "Can I help you?" I asked, my voice surprisingly calm. Bethany hesitated, her eyes filled with shame. I need a haircut," she said softly. I nodded, gesturing to my chair. "Take a seat." As I worked on her hair, we talked. She told me about her life, about the mistakes she had made, and about the regrets she carried. She admitted that she had been wrong to hurt me, that she had acted out of insecurity and desperation. She said she was sorry, truly sorry, for the pain she had caused. I listened without interrupting, allowing her to speak her truth. When she was finished, I took a deep breath and looked her in the eyes. "I forgive you, Bethany," I said, my voice sincere. "I can't change the past, but I can choose to let go of the anger and move forward." Bethany's eyes widened with surprise. "Thank you, Scarlett," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you for your kindness." As she left the salon that day, I felt a sense of closure, a final release from the pain of the past. I had come full circle, from victim to survivor, from bitterness to forgiveness. I realized that holding on to anger only hurt me, that letting go was the key to true healing. And as I looked out at the setting sun, casting its warm glow across the sky, I knew that my life was filled with love, purpose, and endless possibilities. The future was bright, and I was ready to embrace it, with all its joys and challenges.